series about expectation, and it is also our last week before we open the doors of Heart City Church for the first time on October 4th. But if you're not local or you still feel more comfortable staying at home, we will continue to post content online so you don't miss out. But today I want to continue this conversation about expectation, and I want to go back to the Old Testament to a story in 2 Kings chapter 5, and this story is about Naaman. Naaman was a soldier. He was a very highly regarded soldier by his master, by the king of Aram, and he was just a really good soldier, so the king of Aram loved him. The problem was that Naaman had leprosy. And what leprosy is a skin disease, and at the time it was incurable. It was such a terrible disease that when you had it, you were an outcast. No one could come around you. No one would touch you. One day, a servant girl said to Naaman, "Man, if you could just go to this guy in Israel, this man of God, this prophet in Israel, he would cure you." And so Naaman went to the king of Aram and said, "Hey, I heard about this guy in Israel, and I heard he could cure me. Can I go to him?" But because the king of Aram loved Naaman so much because he was such a great soldier, he decided, you know what, let me just write a letter to the king of Israel, and I will ask him to cure you. And so King Aram wrote a letter to the king of Israel, and Naaman went and took it. And he took it to the king, and scripture says, starting in verse 7, "As soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes and said, 'Am I God? Can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me?' When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message: 'Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel.' So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, 'Go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed.' But Naaman went away angry and said, 'I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord, his God, wave his hand over the spot, and cure me of my leprosy.' So he turned away and went off in a rage." My sophomore year of college, I found myself in a deep depression. It was the lowest point that I'd ever experienced up until then. I would go to class and I would come back to my apartment and I would sleep until my next class. And it wasn't something I could pray myself out of or will myself out of or motivate myself to get better. I was at the lowest point. I was so broken. I was depressed. I remember one day just laying on my apartment floor, begging God to take this thing away from me, to take this depression away. And I knew he could, and I was just begging him to do it. I would say to him, "God, I know you want me to be happy. I know you want me to be healed. I know you want me to get better, right? Can you just do it?" I even would say to him, "God, I'll be a better Christian. I'll be a better Christ follower if you would just heal me." I expected God to metaphorically wave his hand over the spot and cure me of my leprosy, of my depression. But much like in Naaman's story, God didn't heal me in an instant. God didn't heal Naaman in an instant. Instead, it was a long process full of steps and effort and faith. Scripture says that Naaman went away in a rage. He was angry. He questioned God because God wasn't healing him instantly. But listen to this, even though Naaman questioned God, even though Naaman was frustrated, he was still obedient. He still went through with the process. In fact, Naaman went to the Jordan and he dipped not once, not twice, not 3 times, not even 6 times. But Naaman dipped all 7 times that the man of God, Elisha, had told him. And at that 7th time, when he came up out of that water, whether he was questioning or not, after that 7th time, he was healed. In fact, scripture says that his skin was like that of a young man's skin. We pick up the story in verse 15. After Naaman had dipped that 7th time and came back up and his skin was restored, verse 15 says, "Then Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, 'Now I know that there is no other God in all the world except in Israel.' This story is full of expectation. We see expectation in the servant girl expecting there to be a man to heal Naaman. We see expectation in Naaman when he expects God to heal him instantly. And we see expectation in Elisha when he tells Naaman to go dip in the Jordan 7 times. When God didn't take my depression away, that day while I was laying on the floor in my apartment my sophomore year of college, I questioned him. When the prophet Elisha didn't just put his hand over Naaman's leprosy and heal it in a second, Naaman questioned God. But the thing I want you to hear today is that even though Naaman questioned the process, he questioned the steps, he questioned the means of the healing, he still was obedient. He still went through with it. He still dipped in the Jordan 7 times, and God still healed him. God knows that in our humanity, we won't always expect the right things from him. We won't always expect him to do what he does best. But as long as we trust him, he will be faithful. Even if we question the process and we wonder about the steps we have to take or what God is asking us to do, as long as we're obedient, God is still going to be faithful. God will still do the healing. God will still do the work. I expected God to heal me. I expected him to take away my depression, and maybe not in the way he did. Maybe not in a long process that took working through it and steps and faith. But God still healed me. He's still healing me. Because God healed Naaman in just the way that the prophet Elisha had told him he would, all scripture says that Naaman and all of his attendants, all of the people with him, got to experience this amazing miracle of his skin becoming clear. And because God didn't heal my depression in the exact way, in the exact instant that I wanted him to, I had to walk with friends who were going through the same thing. I got to become a more compassionate person. Our job, our responsibility, our part is to expect God to do big things. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 24 says, "The one who called you is faithful, and he will surely do it." As you go through this week, I encourage you to think about the things that you need to expect from God. Maybe it's that he would heal a sickness, that he would mend a broken relationship, that he would help you find a job, that he would do some kind of miracle in your life. Whatever the expectation is, I encourage you to say it out loud to God. But after you say it, keep your mind open. It's okay if you question the process, if he doesn't do it instantly, if you question the steps he's asking you to take, it's okay. Because our story tells us that God still works. That as long as we're faithful and obedient, God will do the healing. God will do the big thing in his time and in his way. Thank you so much for watching this week. We're so excited for next Sunday, October 4th at 10 a.m. to gather in person and to worship together. We hope to see you there.